Ryan Walt, R-Y-A-N, W-A-L-T, Boating and Watercraft Safety Manager for the Fish and Boat Commission. So from November 1st till April 30th, it's mandatory for all persons on boats less than 16 feet in length and in all canoes and kayaks to wear a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket. You see from November 1st through April 30th, there's not a lot of boating activity. There are some boats out on the water, but what we saw is if there was an accident that occurred in that time period, it was cold water shock and hypothermia were major factors in the cause of that fatality. Even in the cold weather months, there's fewer boaters out. However, if they end up into an incident or an accident, there's a higher percentage that that accident is going to become fatal. It's going to be a fatal accident due to cold water immersion, cold water shock, and hypothermia. Cold water is defined as anything less than 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So when somebody falls into cold water, they have an involuntary gasp. Kind of like if you get into a cold shower, you do a polar bear plunge, you go into that water, you have that involuntary gasp of air. And what happens is, if you fall overboard, you actually conduct that involuntary gasp while you're underwater. In addition to that, you have a lot of folks going out hunting for waterfowl, geese, even taking boats or canoes to an island to go deer hunting. So those individuals are pursuing their hunting as their primary sport, but they're still getting into a boat, so they still need to be reminded of all the boating regulations that are in effect this time of year. Yeah, this time of year in the Commonwealth, we hope folks are able to get out in the water and enjoy it. It's a great time of year with the fall foliage, getting out in the water, doing some fishing, doing some paddling before winter sets in. So we still would like everybody to get out there and have a great time, enjoy it, enjoy the fall colors. Number one safety thing is wear a life jacket. It's something that's going to save your life, and this time of year, it's mandatory for a lot of folks to have one on. During the cold weather season and during that mandatory cold weather period, you need to have an inherently buoyant life jacket. So that means a life jacket that's meant for the intended use. So you can't wear an inflatable life jacket. They have a CO2 cartridge inside that, due to the weather and the environment, if it's below freezing or close to below freezing, the CO2 gas in there isn't going to fully inflate that life jacket when you need it. So if you're looking for a life jacket for a specific activity, whether it be hunting or sport fishing, there's a lot of retailers, a lot of online retailers and types that are out there that they make a life jacket specific for your activity. So you can search around and find different options that are going to suit you, your family and friends, and pick something that's going to be right for you and going to be comfortable. Cold water is the X factor. If you happen to fall overboard and you're wearing a life jacket, it's going to keep your head up above water while you have that involuntary gasp, and it's going to allow you to be able to stay at the surface of the water and call for help or attempt to get to safety. If you haven't been out on the water in a while, visit fishandboat.com for a lot of additional resources, specifically on cold water safety. You can find under the boating section of the Fish and Boat Commission's website, which again is fishandboat.com. All right, there's a lot of different styles. This life jacket specifically is used for paddling. You can see how there's arm cutouts, so you have full movement when you're in your paddle. All right, so it keeps that nice and open, and it rides a little bit higher up. So if you were sitting down into a kayak, it actually wouldn't impede you in any way. So this one's designed specifically for paddling, and it'll actually say that right on the U.S. Coast Guard label for its intended use. All right, so you see the label here, the U.S. Coast Guard approval label on the life jacket. You can see it says flotation aid. This one says type 3 PFD. It's intended use, paddling, okay? It's made for small, medium-sized adults and user weight more than 90 pounds. So it's going to tell you exactly what the intended use is right on the label. Alright, and this is an inflatable style life jacket. So these become very popular specifically for sport fishermen. Again, this is something that you want to try to avoid during the cold weather months due to the CO2 cartridge that's actually inside the life jacket. This cartridge right here, if it's below freezing or close to below freezing, the CO2 in here isn't going to fully inflate this life jacket whenever you need it to. So again, these are out there, not recommended for the cold weather months.